It seems as though this has been going on for such a long time, and the solution is, well, we want to build relationships, we want to have a commission, we want to have a task force, we want to have a citizens council, and there are all of these conversations, it seems. What have you seen anything happen? And if not, what do you think needs to happen, or who has the power to make a change and really kind of push things along?
So, in my opinion, the individuals who have a power to make the change is those who are in elected positions and those who can really make policy change and enforce policy. So that would be the governor, that would be legislative bodies. And we know that Governor Roy Cooper has created a task force in which I am a member on to combat racial inequities in the criminal justice system. And we have came out with some concrete recommendations. But then again, these are only recommendations that must be implemented not only statewide, but also sometime in legislative settings. So we need individuals who are in position to make laws, to make these laws to hold different individuals accountable, but also create the resources to help the most marginalized communities, particularly when it comes to defunding the police. To speak to that, lastly, my point, we need services that will help individuals in these communities, particularly and not depend on law enforcement to be the end-all, be-all when it comes to everything in those communities. The only way to stop violence and crime in communities is to solve the social ills of those communities. And calling law enforcement is an afterthought after something has taken place. Let's get to the root of the problem and let's address the problem to eradicate it.
That's a great segue to this final segment to just kind of talk about what can communities do? Where is the accountability on the part of citizens? We heard earlier that citizens want communities that are safer. They want policing. So what do community folks need to be doing in order to bring about the better relationships, in order to bring about greater safety and better treatment between themselves and law enforcement? What are some things that citizens themselves need to do, or maybe even perceptions to change and expectations when it comes to what is expected of law enforcement? Let me start with you, Sheriff Birkhead.
Deborah, thank you for the question. And I think the community really does have to meet us halfway, and we have to meet them where they are, where the issues are as well. So we've got to come together somehow. One of the things we've done in Durham, at the Durham County Sheriff's Office, is we did create a community advisory board for the Sheriff's Office, first in its history, and that's a collection of 26 individuals from all across Durham County that meet with me on a regular basis to talk about issues, to talk about the concerns that they're having in their respective communities, and then we develop strategies around how to address them. And they take that back to their respective communities and their groups and organizations, their churches, to continue the dialogue. Communities that are being plagued by gun violence or drugs or whatever the case may be really need to talk with law enforcement to help us, to be the eyes and ears for law enforcement. We're not asking anyone to be a snitch or, sacrifice their values, but really have to work with us. As Kerwin said, law enforcement cannot do this alone. I've had conversations with the North Carolina Sheriff's Association. I've been on calls with the governor's task force, and there are real concrete suggestions being made, but it is going to take the collective to really implement these changes as we move forward, and not spend a lot of time doing research papers or task force. I think it was said earlier, we need to listen to the protesters because they are really telling us what we need to do and what we need to pay attention to.